Okay, today we're going to graph functions. So when we graph a function, we need to find the ordered pairs, and the ordered pairs are always labeled x, comma, y. So when you find an x value, you'll have a y value, and then you'll be able to plot a point on a graph. So f of x can also be interchanged with y because you're saying the function of whatever you plug in for x is going to give you a value for y. So when we're working with functions of graphs, we're going to say here that we always need to set up a t-chart. So we're going to set up our t-chart first, and then I'll give you an equation. Now in our t-chart, we have a column for x and a column for y. Now the equation we're going to graph or solve for is f of x is equal to x plus 2. So what I like to do for my t-chart is I like to put two numbers on the negative side. And we'll start with -2 and -1. I also like to put in 0. And then, since I gave two numbers on the negative side, we'll use those same two numbers, but on the positive side. So we'll start by plugging in this -2 for x. And we're going to say here that if we plug in -2 for x, and we add it to a +2, you get y is equal to 0. Now we're going to plug in -1 for x. If we take -1 for x and add 2, you're going to see that 2 minus 1, or -1, and you add 2, you're going to get +1. If we plug in 0 now for x, and we add 2 from our equation, 0 plus 2 is 2. You should start to see a pattern trending here that we went from 0 to 1 to 2, because the change here is 1, and the change in your x column also is 1. So now, if we plug in 1 for x, and we add our 2, you're going to say 1 plus 2 is 3. Now our last value is 2. 2 plus 2 gives us a y value of 4. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make our graph, and we're going to see what type of equation we have. Now, after we graph it, you should be able to see that, ooh, that's really crooked. Let's undo that. Okay, so after we graph our equation, you're going to see that you could be able to tell from the, it's still crooked, but that's okay. So you'll be able to see what type of equation you have just by looking at your equation. However, let me refix this here. I don't like that that's crooked. Let me try to draw a straight line here. That is terrible. Okay, so that's straight enough. All right, so my horizontal lines are much better than my vertical lines. So let's see. Okay, our first ordered pair here is -2, 0. So we're going to move over -2 on the x-axis, and we're not going up any on the y. So here's our first point. Our next point is over -1 on the x-axis, over 1, but this time we're going up 1. So our next point is going to be about right here. Our third point is 0 on the x and y. It's at the origin, and it moves up 2 on the y. So we're at 0, we move up 1, we move up 2. And you're going to see that this point is right here. Let me make that a little lower. So you're going to see that 2 is right here. Our third point, our fourth point, is 1, 3. 1 on the x, 3 on the y. So we're going to move 1 in the positive direction, and we're going to move up 3 on the y, and that's going to be about right here. Our final point is over 2 on the x and over 4 on the y. So here's over 2, here's up 4, We're going to plot this about right here. And you can see from the points that we've plotted that you have a straight line. So you have a linear function. Linear function. And now I will connect those dots as best I can to show that this right here is a straight line. So we're going to try to sketch that in here as best I can. And you see here that we have formed a straight line, see? And there is graphing functions of linear functions.